Here today with our good friend Ruth Lenk, Ambassador of Israel in the Republic of South Africa. Friend Arthur, how are you keeping?
I'm good. It's good to see you, my friend.
Thanks, Arthur. So let's go to business. Excellency, as the Israeli ambassador accredited to 3 countries in Southern Africa, Lesotho, South Africa, and Swaziland, how would you describe your diplomatic tour in the region? Any specific moments, events that stood out for you?
Well, I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I get paid pretty good salary to live in Southern Africa, to experience what's going on here, meet nice people, talk about my country, and help build relations, whether it's in business, whether it's people-to-people ties. When I go to Cape Town, some people, have to get visas and travel and reserve hotels. I'm doing my job. Who's luckier than me?
It's true.
It's true.
Have the Lenks adapted to living in South Africa, making it an enjoyable experience for your job and stay in this country?
Oh, we're so blessed. We're so lucky. We have access to the best in the world. We get to go on safari. We get to travel along the beautiful sites all across Africa. And everywhere I go, I meet people who know places from my country from the Bible.
Oh.
Right? They know about Nazareth, and they know about Jerusalem, and they know about King David, and they know about Moses. And the biggest church in South Africa is called the Zion Christian Church in Limpopo province.
Right.
The Zion Christian Church, the God of the Mount of Zion, is in Jerusalem, right? It's my God. And so it's an amazing connection to people of South Africa that goes far beyond, trade or usual government-to-government diplomatic nonsense. It's real. It's in people's heart and their soul.
Nice. South Africa was among the 33 countries in 1947 to vote in favor of the UN resolution recommending the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine. In 1961, Israel backed at that same forum its General Assembly censor of Eric Lowe's speech defending apartheid. Both are moments of solidarity between Israelis and South Africans. 70 years after, where does the relationship between these two nations stand today?
Well, you're right. It's the 70th anniversary this year of that incredible resolution of the United Nations General Assembly that created the idea that there can be a Jewish state that became the State of Israel just 3 years after the end of the Holocaust, where 6 million of my people were killed in Europe. The State of Israel was born. And here we are 70 years later. Trade between South Africa and Israel is over $1 billion per year. 30,000 Israeli tourists come to South Africa every year. About 25,000 South Africans visit Israel. We have a large, vibrant Jewish community here in South Africa, and many South Africans who live in Israel. So on a range of different levels, we're connected. And what's amazing is both of these two countries were born out of great tragedy. Israel, right after the Holocaust, and South Africa coming out of apartheid. And so the world is inspired by our two countries. They watch us carefully and know that you could be inspired and change, and great leaders like Mandela or Yitzhak Rabin and Shimon Peres can lead their people to better days and to success.
True. Israel was one of the first world nations to have a woman as its head of state in the person of Golda Meir. What is your country's stance today in regards to equal gender opportunity?
Well, as a father of 3 daughters, I've got to tell you that we take it really seriously. My 2 oldest daughters just finished their time in the Israeli military. Women, like men, do military service in Israel. And you know what? South Africans sometimes say to me when I say that, they say shame. That's one of those South African terms that everybody says for everything. But it's an incredible opportunity. My oldest daughter became an officer and worked as an investigator in the ombudsman's office of the military. By the end of her time in the Army, she had more people working for her than I have, and she controlled a bigger budget at age 22. So where is the guy or the woman who's going to be able to tell my daughter or any young Israeli woman that she can't do anything?
True.
They can do anything.
Great. Your country is well known for its dynamic capability in agricultural field. How is this experience and knowledge utilized as a mechanism of aid to South Africa in regards to food security and the rest of the continent?
Yeah, well the truth is Israel is desert, right? If you know your Bible, going back to the time of Genesis,
Yes.
Jacob had to send his sons down to Africa, to Egypt, because there was famine, there was drought, there was no water, there was no food in the Holy Land. But today, in 2017, we're a world leader in agriculture and in water management. A number of Israeli companies are really active here in South Africa. A company like Netafim, which is the world leader in drip irrigation, has a factory just outside of Cape Town, manufacturing the drip irrigation pipes that you see in wineries and in farms all over Southern Africa. And they sell them in South Africa and outside of South Africa. So it's job creation, it's high tech, it's knowledge transfer, and it's export profit. The same is true, and this is a really cool one, also in the Western Cape. An Israeli company called Moore grows persimmon fruits. Do you have them in Panama?
Yes.
Persimmons?
Yes.
Little orange fruit. In South Africa, they're called Sharon fruit. And in Israel, everywhere, they grow in the autumn. Okay, so we're coming into the season soon here in South Africa. But the idea was, in Israel, they grew them and sold about half of them to France and to Germany. And the importers in France and Germany said to the Israelis, you know what, if you could find a way to grow more, we'll buy more. But Israel's a little country and the season is short. And so someone realized that the weather is the same between the Western Cape and Israel, but the opposite. Right? The seasons are the opposite. We're in the Southern Hemisphere here. And so somebody about 12 years ago from this company called Moore, M-O-R, had the idea of, let's build orchards in South Africa. We'll export all of it from Swellendam in the Western Cape to the same buyers in France and in Germany. And they do. And last year, about 85% were exported, employed 2,000 people in season. In about 2 months' time, right? We're now in March. By May, 2,000 people are going to work in Swellendam. Food security, export, great cooperation between Israel and South Africa. It's one of my favorite projects.
That's great. And sticking that to what you mentioned about water, Israel is obviously considered the world leader, if not the world leader, when it comes to water management. South Africa and other countries in the continent using this expertise in this area?
Well, there's more and more talk in South Africa about water management because over the last year, there's been a terrible drought in South Africa and Swaziland and other places around here. And so last year, in 2016, we decided as an embassy to cancel our National Day.
Yeah.
We didn't have a reception. You know, our embassy direct knows all this kind of stuff, that all the embassies have parties and receptions, and so we canceled ours. Took our budget and instead brought experts from Israel in desalination, in recycling, in drip irrigation to come to South Africa for a week. And we did a road show. We did 3 events, one in Johannesburg, one in Cape Town, and one in Durban, sharing some of our lessons and our experiences, hopefully to help South Africa and Southern Africa get better at water management, because water is life. If we don't have enough water in our reservoirs and in our pipes, the municipalities are going to go dry. And it's a scary prospect. And I was really proud to be able to share some of that experience from Israel with South Africa.
Yeah, I congratulate you, because I think that was a great move. I remember you invite us to participate when as important as a national day is for one. I think when you do it on dedicate that budget to something so meaningful as sharing your knowledge and experience, I think that was very recommendable.
Well, thank you. It's nice of you to say. It was really meaningful to all of us. And the truth is nobody missed my speech. Nobody missed, the raising of a glass. And I think that people will remember that it was a sign of friendship between our two countries.
Great. The worldwide presence of the Jewish business community is acknowledged. How does that presence reflect in South Africa, and what is its social impact?
Well, you know what? Jews have been a part of South Africa for 175 years, a long time. And South Africa has been a blessing for the Jewish community. Many of them who had to run away from Eastern Europe, mostly from Lithuania and Latvia, in the very, very first parts of the 20th century. And so South Africa saved their lives. And the community repaid South Africa, I think, for this blessing by taking a leadership role in business, by many of them playing a key role in fighting apartheid. There are iconic names from the Jewish community that were involved in the fight against apartheid. And I don't know if you know, but the ANC headquarters at the Lily's Leaf farm in the Rivonia area of Johannesburg that was raided in the famous trial of the Rivonia trial, all of the 4 white people who were arrested there, they were all Jews.
Yes, that's right.
And Mandela, of course, hid out there, and there's the famous story about his gun being buried there. But the person who owned the land and the people who were involved in that part of South African history were Jews.
Yes, true. Your better half, your wife Ruth,
much better.
is very involved in helping others and has engaged with different organizations, including the International Diplomatic Spouses Association, which she headed a year ago. How does that, her social contribution in South Africa, benefit your mission as ambassador here?
Well, you know what? There's an expression in Jewish culture, in Jewish tradition. The word in Hebrew is tikkun olam, of repairing the world, of making the world a little bit of a better place. And I think that, you know what, better than some of the nonsense that we diplomats do, you know, and the fancy titles we have. We're lucky that a lot of our spouses, mine and yours, are two that really were really active in this, of finding ways to connect at grassroots level to South Africa. Not with the fancy titles, and there was no champagne being served, but there were lives being saved and impacted. And you know what? We're here to South Africa to do that, to find ways to touch people's lives and to send a message that that we're one people and we're all the same. And in many ways, what the ladies have done, the kind of events that they did, are going to last longer and more important than some of the nonsense that we diplomats do.
True. Regardless of any differences, mainly in criteria on specific topics, how do you foresee the development of Israeli-South African relations toward the future?
Well, I think that the possibilities are endless. Israel is a world leader in technology these days. Lots of people call Israel startup nation because we have more startups and more companies traded on NASDAQ in absolute numbers than any country in the world other than the US and China. Israeli companies are involved in cyber. Intel.
Silicon Valley, no?
Well, we call it the Silicon Wadi in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. An Israeli company called Mobileye was just bought by Intel this week for 15 billion US dollars. Right? That's just over 200 billion rand in today's exchange rate. What Mobileye does is they have the technology for automated cars. In 10 years' time, my friend, luckily for the world, we're not going to drive anymore. Because we humans, we think we're good drivers. Certainly the men. We think that, but we're not. And the technology is going in that direction of automated cars. And Israel's at the forefront of that. Israel's at the forefront of cyber, of homeland security kind of technologies, of applications that change the way we live our lives. And more in South Africa and across the world, Israel is engaging and sharing our experience in technology, in innovation, in entrepreneurship. And I think that those ideas of trading services, of adding value, not just selling products, is the direction of our world. And Israel is really well placed in Africa in general, as a neighbor to Africa, and in South Africa and specifically, to really gain and to develop our relationship based on that.
Ambassador Lenk, thank you so much for sharing all these experiences and knowledge with our readers and viewers of Embassy Direct.
Thanks very much.